Hello students, I hope you are all fine and in good health. In this audio presentation, I will be discussing three important characters that we find in this particular chapter, Albert Einstein at School. So dear students, I have given the heading Albert Einstein at School, important characters. Three important characters are there. There are other characters also, but these three are the most important characters. The first one is Albert Einstein himself. As shown in the chapter, Einstein as a student was very frank and fearless, and we find at the very beginning only when he was having a conversation with Mr. Brown, he was very frank and he was very fearless, and he candidly confessed his displeasure in learning dates related with historical incidents. And he was very frank in that when he told it to Mr. Brown. He was not scared at all. So I repeat, Einstein as a student was very frank and fearless. His way of thinking, even at that age, was quite mature and practical. And he was very progressive minded also, and his way of thinking, his ideology, all are very mature and very practical at that time. He was an exceptional student and had solved not only the entire book of mathematics but also knew very advanced level math, and that can be noticeable in his conversation with Mr. Koch, who was thoroughly impressed with Albert Einstein's caliber in terms of solving mathematical problems, and told very candidly and quite frankly, in a very humble manner, that he can learn many things from Albert himself. Einstein was quite considerate about the problems existing in society. For example, slum violence disturbed him because he used to live in a place in one of the poorest quarters in Munich. It has been mentioned in the text. And there he experienced slum violence. The wife beating her children, and she herself was being beaten by a drunkard husband every weekend. And it was a place where he used to stay, and that disturbed him a lot. Even the school used to create a lot of problems for him. So he suffered from a lot of stress, or rather to say, he suffered from a lot of mental anxiety. He was, moreover, I'm repeating this line once again. Einstein was quite considerate about the problems existing in society. For example, slum violence disturbed him. His heart ached. Ache means to pain, to feel pain. To see the young boys wasting their time in useless activities such as fights. A duel incident and a boy got killed in that by another one being referred to him by Yuri. We get to know about that, and that disturbed Albert Einstein a lot. He was very much worried about his career. Albert knew the school was not doing him much good, and so he wanted to get away from Munich and go to Milan for admission in a college. Now, the important thing was that his life was a hell in school. He never liked that place at all, and that was the reason at the end of the story we find that he was glad to leave the school where he had spent 5 miserable years. And he could realize that he was wasting his father's money and everyone's time. And he, or rather to say, his main target was to get away from Munich, and he wanted to go to Milan, and he wanted to take admission in a technical college so that he can pursue his education related with science and technology. Now, dear students, the next important character is related with the doctor, Dr. Ernst Will, who actually issued a medical certificate to Albert Einstein related with nervous breakdown. So let us come to his character discussion, dear students. He was a very young doctor and a very kind human being. He was a very generous human being, very generous, very kind-hearted, very considerate also at the same time. He agreed to help Einstein when Yuri discussed with him his problem. His goodness is visible from the fact that before issuing a certificate for a nervous breakdown, he asked Einstein what he would do after quitting school, because he asked Einstein that what was his future plan, what he wanted to do after quitting school. When he was satisfied with Einstein's reply, that Einstein told him very frankly that he wanted to go to Milan and he wanted to get admission in a technical college. And Dr. Ernst was more or less satisfied with his reply, only that he gave him the certificate. He did not charge a single penny. We haven't charged any fees from Albert Einstein for the help, which shows his kind gesture and how he did not behave greedily. He haven't behaved greedily, haven't asked any money from Albert Einstein, and most importantly is that haven't charged a single penny from Einstein also. And that shows that he was very kind-hearted, and that shows that he gave a nice kind gesture towards Albert Einstein. And one important nice characteristic trait that can be found in him is that he was not at all greedy. Now, dear students, the third important character. Without that Albert Einstein at school, this chapter is incomplete, and that is the character of Yuri. Yuri was Einstein's only source of comfort, help and relief in Munich. He was the friend, philosopher and guide of Albert Einstein in Munich. He was his reliable friend, as he played a savior's role in Albert's life when he was going through a very rough patch in life. When his life was going all downhill, it was Yuri who, as a real friend, stood by his side. We can say Yuri stood by his side in will and woe. That is also another way of describing Yuri's contribution in the life of Albert Einstein when Albert was struggling with his miserable, pathetic life related with his education, related with his life way back in Munich. So, dear students, let me continue. Albert was neither happy at school, nor he was comfortable at his poor lodging in a poor quarter of the city, because Albert had to encounter slum violence because his father haven't sent him enough money or enough allowances, we can say. So he used to stay in one of the poorest quarters in Munich. Yuri was his only friend with whom he shared his sorrows, concerns and worries. Yuri not only comforted him and gave him hope, but he also found a doctor for him. That doctor is Dr. Ernst, who could issue Albert a certificate for a nervous breakdown. Indeed, Albert was suffering from a nervous breakdown. Albert thought that a fake medical certificate will be issued, but the doctor made the right diagnosis because Albert was quite nervous, and from his body language it was very clear to the doctor that really he was suffering from nervous breakdown. There is no need to pretend. He actually at that time was suffering from nervous breakdown. I am repeating this line, dear students, once again. Yuri not only comforted him and gave him hope, but he also found a doctor for him who could issue Albert a certificate, that is a medical certificate, that is Dr. Ernst for a nervous breakdown, so that using it Albert could go away from the school where he had some adjustment issues with his history teacher Mr. Brown. Not only with Mr. Brown but also with many other teachers also, because Albert was very progressive minded, he was outspoken and he was very frank also. He never used to be ashamed and of his own condition, and he used to say whatever it was in his mind. He used to speak up very frankly, and he was very progressive minded, and according to him education should be a combination of ideas and facts. But that infuriated Mr. Brown, because Mr. Brown was a very orthodox teacher. He was not so progressive minded as Albert Einstein, and that was the reason not only he punished Albert Einstein but humiliated him in front of the entire class and even complained to the head teacher also. Finally, the head teacher told Albert that he is a disgrace, and that was previously been told by Mr. Brown also. And even then the head teacher, apart from this, told him that it will be better if he leave the school. then he won't be issuing any TC certificate to Albert. And another important thing is that when Albert was shocked that such a tough decision was taken by the headmaster, in reply to that, the headmaster told that it was very difficult for the teachers to teach in his presence in the class, and it is very difficult for the students also to learn. So finally, Albert left the place where he had spent 5 miserable years. And at that time, Yuri helped him a lot. As a friend, during this difficult phase of his life, Yuri stood by his side, as I already told you, and wished him good luck when he was about to leave Munich. So, dear students, these are the 3 most important characters: Albert Einstein, Dr. Ernst Will, and Yuri. Please go through this audio presentation. Listen to this audio presentation very carefully. And if there is any doubt anywhere, let me know about it. Thank you, students. Thank you all.